Today we will understand the working of memory through the Atkinson and Shiffrin model of memory. Memory is an active system that receives information from the senses, puts the information into usable form, organizes it and stores it away, and then retrieves the information from storage. Atkinson and Shiffrin were the theorists of the information processing model. It looks at how memory and other thought processes work and bases its model for human thought on the way that a computer functions. These theorists were the first who proposed that there are three types of memory system: sensory, short-term and long-term memory. Sensory memory is the first system in the process of memory, the point at which information enters the nervous system through the sensory systems, eyes, ears, and so on. Actually, the information enters through the sensory system, briefly registering in sensory memory. Selective attention filters the information into short-term memory, where it is held while attention continues. If the information receives enough rehearsal, it will enter and be stored in the long-term memory. Actually, there are two kinds of sensory memory. They are the iconic, that is visual, and echoic, that is auditory sensory system. Iconic sensory memory. The visual sensory memory is often called the iconic memory, and it only lasts for a fraction of a second. Icon is the Greek word for image. In real life, information that has just entered the iconic memory will be pushed out very quickly by new information, a process called masking. Research suggests that after only a quarter of a second, old information is replaced by new information. Iconic memory actually serves a very important function in the visual system. It also allows enough time for the brain stem to decide if the information is important enough. The second of the sensory memory is echoic sensory memory. Another type of sensory memory is the memory of something a person has heard. It's limited to what can be heard at one moment and is smaller than the capacity of iconic memory. It lasts about 2 to 4 seconds. Echoic memory is very useful when a person wants to have meaningful conversation with others. It also allows people to hold on to incoming auditory information long enough. The second is the short-term memory. If an incoming sensory message is important enough to enter the consciousness, that message will move from sensory memory to the next process of memory called the short-term memory. Unlike sensory memory, short-term memory may be held for up to 30 seconds and possibly longer through maintenance rehearsal. Some of the important processes under short-term memory are: first is selective attention. It is the ability to focus on only one stimulus from among all sensory input. It is through selective attention that information enters our short-term system. When a person is thinking actively about information, that information is said to get stored in short-term memory. Short-term memory tends to be encoded primarily in the auditory, that is sound form. Working memory. This is a component of short-term memory. Some memory theorists use this term working memory as another way of referring to short-term memory. Working memory is thought as an active system that processes the information present within short-term memory. The capacity of short-term memory is limited. A classic theory proposed by George Miller suggests that the average number of objects an individual can hold in their short-term memory is about 7, plus or minus 2. That means 9 or 5. Research has shown that short-term memory lasts from about 12 to 30 seconds without rehearsal. After that, the memory seems to rapidly decay or disappear. Most people realize that saying something they want to remember over and over again in their heads can help them remember it for longer. This is called as maintenance rehearsal. With rehearsal, information will stay in the short term memory until rehearsal stops. The third is long term memory. We have seen first at the sensory memory, the second as the short term memory, and the third is the long term memory. The third stage of memory is long term memory, the system into which all the information is placed to be kept more or less permanently. In terms of capacity, long term memory seems to be unlimited for all practical purposes. As for duration, the name long term says it all. It means that many of the memories people have stored away for a long time, even since childhood, may still be there. That does not mean that people can always retrieve those memories. The memories may be available but not accessible. Elaborative rehearsal. It is a method of transferring information from the short term memory into the long term memory by making that information meaningful in some way. It is a memory technique that involves thinking about the meaning of the information to be remembered and connecting it to other information already stored in memory. Actually, there are few types of long term memory. The first is non declarative memory, also known as implicit memory. It's a type of long term memory including memory for skills, procedures, habits, and conditioned responses. These memories are not conscious but are implied to exist because they affect conscious behavior. These memories also include emotional associations and habits, which are often very strong memories. The second is the declarative memory, also known as explicit memory. This memory is about all the things that people can know, that is, the facts and information that make up the knowledge. These are general facts, but people also know about the things that they have happened to them personally. There are two types of declarative long term memory: semantic memory and episodic memory. Semantic memory. One type of the explicit memory is general knowledge that anyone has the ability to know. This kind of long term memory is called as semantic memory. The word semantic refers to meaning. So, this kind of knowledge is the awareness of meanings of words, concepts, and terms, as well as names and objects. Semantic memories are relatively permanent. The second is the episodic memory. Memories of what has happened to people each day, certain birthdays and childhood events, and so on are called episodic memory because they represent episodes from their lives. Episodic memories that are especially meaningful, such as the memory of the first day of your school, or your first date, or your first kiss, are more likely to be kept in long term memory. Episodic and semantic memories are explicit memories because they are easily made conscious and brought from long term storage into short term memory.